So I think there's one thing we can all agree on in the B2B world,
Hmm.
cold calling. It's become a real performance killer.
Yeah.
Salespeople just dread making the calls.
And prospects, well, they actively hate getting them.
Exactly. And for you, if you're a sales leader, that downstream cost is it's brutal. We're talking high churn rates with your best reps.
Oh, absolutely. And clogged pipelines,
Yeah.
just choked with dead leads that never, ever had a chance.
It's the single highest friction point in the whole sales ecosystem, isn't it?
It is. And if you're operating at an executive level, this isn't just a morale thing. It's a direct resource drain. The perception is, cold calling is dead.
Right. Everyone says that.
But the reality, and this is confirmed by the sales experts, is that
Yeah.
it still works. The problem isn't the tool, it's the prehistoric strategy behind it.
Precisely. So our mission in this deep dive is to deliver that strategic blueprint. We want to show you how to revolutionize the whole process.
Yeah, we're analyzing insights on how to shift B2B cold calling from that painful numbers game.
To a modern, trust-based relationship builder. Something that drives genuine, sustainable sales success. We're moving from transaction to transformation.
And to really get the solution, you have to define the problem clearly. The traditional approach, we call it the spray and pray method.
Spray and pray, I like that.
You arm a rep with a huge, often totally unqualified list, you hand them a robotic script, and then you just demand that they push hard for an appointment.
Regardless of whether the prospect has a need or a budget or any authority at all.
Right. It's just high-pressure theater. And the metrics, they're brutal.
They are.
The failure rate is literally built into the system. This is what causes those, unsustainable 12-month churn cycles in a sales org.
When the seller feels like a nuisance, they burn out. Fast.
And when the buyer feels manipulated, the whole organization loses credibility. Any future call from your brand is basically dead on arrival. That friction has to be eliminated at a systemic level.
So we have to completely recalibrate the GPS. And this really starts at the top, doesn't it?
It has to.
The big shift we found in the source material. It's not just about tweaking a script. It's about changing the fundamental mindset of the entire organization. And management has to enforce that.
Absolutely. The goal is no longer forcing the sale.
No.
The new approach, let's call it cold calling with dignity and trust.
Yeah.
It shifts the focus completely. We pivot from pushing for a close to 3 main pillars.
Okay. What are they?
Building immediate trust, fostering a genuinely reciprocal conversation, and maybe most importantly, qualifying prospects out quickly.
Instead of aggressively chasing every single name on the list.
Exactly.
And that immediately removes the anxiety for everyone involved, right?
It does. Our sources detail this conceptual framework. You see it in methods like Ari Galper's Unlock the Game, which reframes cold calling completely.
So instead of a hunt.
It becomes a respectful conversation.
Yeah.
You're just exploring fit. Can you elaborate on how that exploration mindset really differs from the old way?
Well, think about the core psychology. The traditional approach basically assumes guilt. The rep thinks, I'm interrupting, I have to apologize, or use some kind of trick to stay on the line.
Right.
But the exploratory mindset assumes parity. The conversation is framed more like, look, I have something that might help, and I just need to figure out if you have a problem I can solve. If not, great, we both move on.
So it's about earning the right to continue the conversation through transparency.
Exactly. Not trapping them into a 15-minute appointment they don't want.
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly for the core.
Yeah.
The executive policy shifts. Because if we're asking our teams to do this, management has to provide the structure.
Let's unpack the 3 core actions for that transition to trust-based calling.
Actionable insight number 1. And this is so critical for anyone in HR or training leadership. Salespeople must fundamentally shift their identity. They need to be trained and really incentivized to operate as a helper, not a pitcher.
A helper, not a pitcher.
Okay.
But how does a sales leader translate that identity change into, tangible training? It's easy to say be a helper, but how do we stop reps from reverting to just reciting features when the pressure's on?
Well, it means we stop teaching them to recite features and benefits altogether.
Really?
Training has to move into advanced discovery methods. Your team has to be trained to genuinely enter the prospect's world by listening. I mean, we're talking 80% listening, 20% talking.
And asking deep diagnostic questions that help the prospect explore their own solutions.
Yes. The emphasis is on understanding the cost of their current problem, not selling the glory of your product.
So if the focus is on diagnosis over demonstration, the performance metrics have to change too, right? For executives dealing with KPIs, you can't measure the helper with the same roller you use for the pitcher.
That is the management imperative. You have to stop incentivizing volume over quality, drop the dials per hour KPI.
So what do you track instead?
Start tracking quality discovery conversations per week, or maybe qualification velocity. We should be rewarding the reps who successfully disqualify a lead early.
Because they've saved the company valuable resources.
Their time, marketing's time, the prospect's patience, that speed of qualification driven by genuine helpfulness, that's what truly improves pipeline velocity.
Okay, that transition leads perfectly into the second insight, which really challenges every aggressive sales philosophy out there.
It does.
Change the goalpost. Management must enforce a shift in priority to focus on the beginning, not the close.
This is so critical for long-term credibility. But it's also the hardest behavioral change to enforce. If your goal from the first syllable is the close, the prospect, they can feel that mercenary intent immediately.
So the priority is building trust in that first interaction.
Yes, because that respectful tone sets the emotional foundation for the entire relationship.
Okay, but I have to challenge this from the executive perspective for a second. Your top rep is paid to close revenue, period. If you tell them to slow down and just build trust, how do you keep them from reverting to old, aggressive habits when their quota deadline is looming? It feels like a soft philosophy hitting a hard financial reality.
And that's a valid strategic concern. The answer is in the process infrastructure, not just coaching.
How so?
You enforce this by changing what counts as a win early in the sales cycle. You implement a process where the rep actually gets credit for a clean, respectful no.
So if there's no fit, the goal is to move on with dignity.
And you leverage your CRM tools to stop wasting resources on deals that are definitively dead. Pressure-free conversations are really the only way to deliver respect and build that long-term brand credibility, which, ironically, makes the eventual close much faster when there is a fit.
So it's a powerful internal shift. Stop rewarding chasing. Start rewarding efficient triage.
Precisely. And if we've shifted the identity to helper and the objective to trust, the third pillar is all about the delivery.
Mastering the language of connection.
Yes. You have to scrap the standardized robotic sales speak that immediately puts a prospect's guard up.
We talked about this contrast earlier, but let's go deeper into the mechanism of that language. Why is saying, would you be open to, so much more effective than, are you interested in?
The difference is control. Transactional language, like, are you interested in X? It forces the prospect to commit, which creates immediate resistance.
Right. It's a yes or no question.
But collaborative language, like, would you be open to exploring how others in your industry are solving Y? Or maybe, would you be willing to share your perspective on Z?
It uses these non-pressuring phrases that subtly give control back to the prospect.
You're giving them an easy out.
Which paradoxically makes them more likely to lean in. It's a respectful invitation versus a forceful imposition.
That's the exact feeling you want to create.
But the underlying principle here is just profound listening, is what Stephen Covey called seek first to understand, then to be understood. When a prospect realizes you are genuinely listening to diagnose their specific challenge, not just waiting for your turn to pitch, they open up.
And that shift in dialogue is a necessary prerequisite for uncovering those true high-value opportunities.
That's a huge distinction for training managers to enforce. Okay, so if we move away from the call itself and into preparation, what strategic steps do sales execs need to implement? Because trust-based selling, it requires a big investment up front.
It absolutely does. The prep stage transforms from just a clerical task into a strategic requirement, and management has to prioritize the resources for it.
Which brings us to section 2. We need our teams to connect, not just call.
This is the death of the generic list blast. If your reps are calling cold, they need ammunition to make those first 30 seconds count.
So management needs to insist on and actually budget for homework.
Yes. Sales pros have to reference the prospect's LinkedIn, their company's recent news, their website, something specific they mention publicly before they pick up the phone.
That shows you care. It instantly changes the call from a random blast into a targeted, relevant connection.
It signals this isn't just another number in a quota game. It's a specific outreach, informed by their reality.
What kind of management investment are we talking about here?
Well, we have to acknowledge that research takes time. If a rep spends 10 minutes researching 5 leads and connects meaningfully with just one, that is exponentially more valuable than making 50 blind dials.
So management needs to provide the tools.
Access to quality intent data professional social selling platforms, and you have to carve out specific deep prep time in the rep schedule. This isn't just about better manners, it's about raising the connection rate and the conversion rate of that connection to the first meeting.
And the success of that connection, no matter how well prepared the rep is, it all hinges on the quality of the raw material they start with. This brings us to a critical point for executives and hiring managers that often gets minimized: the importance of the list.
This is where we talk ROI. I mean, if you are hiring top-tier talent, which costs a fortune,
Right.
why would you hamstring them with subpar leads? We saw a really compelling detail from a sales expert, Harold Gardner, who said very plainly that a bad list can gut the performance of sales superstars.
Gut the performance. That's a strong phrase.
But it's not an exaggeration.
Let's break that down from a management cost perspective. If I have a salesperson with a, say, $150,000 total comp package, and they spend half their day calling unqualified prospects because the list is trash.
You are essentially flushing $75,000 a year down the drain, plus the cost of their inevitable burnout.
A bad list isn't just a nuisance, it's a massive hidden operational cost.
Precisely. Executives have to treat lead quality as a strategic investment, not some cheap commodity. When lists are generic, every minute of your highly paid rep's time becomes inefficient. You're asking them to do the marketing team's job qualification in the most resource-intensive way possible.
Over the phone, call by agonizing call.
Exactly.
So, the decision to invest in a highly qualified, smaller, targeted list isn't just a philosophical choice to be nicer. It's a core financial decision that supports profitability and retention.
Absolutely. When you provide qualified lists, you're pre-warming the conversation. You're validating the rep's time. It makes that identity shift from pitcher to helper so much easier because the rep knows the person on the other end likely has a problem their organization can actually solve.
It's the bedrock of team motivation and consistent sales success.
It is. If the philosophy of your organization is qualification and dignity, then calling random names from an outdated database is fundamentally violating your own strategy.
That reframing lead quality as a profit center and a retention tool, that's invaluable for sales leadership.
And it ensures that all the behavioral training we talked about, being the helper, using the right language, it actually gets applied to prospects who can benefit from it.
Okay, let's bring this all together. What's the final synthesis for the sales leader listening right now?
The synthesis is simple, but the operational change is complex. Cold calling doesn't have to be the worst part of your business.
Right.
It is a trainable, measurable skill that can be refined to be respectful, effective, and resource efficient.
By systematically changing your team's identity, prioritizing trust over transaction, and investing strategically in high-quality prep, you transform cold calling from a dreaded task into a relationship-building process.
And the immense pressure disappears for both sides.
The focus shifts to efficient qualification, building trust, and ensuring that when the prospect does become a client, that foundation is solid. That's how you find reliable, scalable sales success.
And the final provocative thought we want to leave you with is this. The fear that your team associates with cold calling, it's directly proportional to how little control they feel they have over the outcome. When you give them a strategy rooted in competence, control, and respect, when you treat prospects as collaborators, not targets, you don't just eliminate that fear. You fundamentally unlock a higher caliber of sales success. And critically, you create an environment that retains the best performers in the industry.
If you're looking to drive deeper into these strategies for recruiting, training, and retaining those top performers, we highly encourage you to check out the resources provided by the Sales Experts. Go check out thesalesexperts.com for more comprehensive insights on how to implement this trust-based calling strategy in your organization today.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into strategic sales transformation.
Until next time, keep digging.